How's it going, everybody? So most of you probably have already seen the patch that was released last Thursday. It's the mid-season patch for Year 4, Season 4, patch 2.25.0, just to have the numbers right. Most people were waiting for the 4 hero reworks / changes that we had in the last testing grounds. Suffice to say, only 2 of them made it in this time, Nobushi and Peacekeeper. Considering that this patch had a lot of changes that I do want to mention, I will probably split it up into general changes, which we're talking about today, and then I'm going to make another one highlighting the changes that came to the aforementioned 2 characters. Most of the changes were directly taken from the testing ground, but additional ones were added. Also, I want to play with and against them a little more to get a better picture before I reach a verdict. Specifically because I think PK is still missing a thing here or there to make her truly good. More on that later this week. Same goes for the undocumented changes. That channel in my Discord has been humming. A lot of people have found things already, so we'll probably see a ton more, especially animation wise, once people have verified that it's actually new ones. That one will probably come next Friday. But let's get to it. First big change. We have a new target swap system. You might remember how I highlighted the problem in team fights that it is almost impossible to lock onto someone that tries to run away, even if that person is directly in your line of sight. The game simply switches between the 2 closest targets. Now we have a new system that allows you to cycle through all targets, but you must first enable this feature in the settings. I'll explain why. So there are different methods of locking on at the moment. For controller players, you can hold down the L2 or left trigger button, or you can enable a toggle. So you press it once, you lock on, you press it again, you unlock. Keyboard and mouse users usually use the target swap button to lock on and the sprint button to unlock. So first, the method I use, I play controller and I use toggle lock on. My R3 button, meaning pressing my right stick, allows me to target swap. But there is a little caveat. To switch between all targets, you need to press target swap within 250 ms of each other. If you wait too long, you are back to the old system and will only switch between the 2 nearest players. Now, apparently many people hold the lock on button, release it and press it again to target swap. When I heard this seemed extremely foreign and strange to me, but whatever floats your boat. If you can make this work, then you do you. But a little extra info, it might come as a surprise, but sometimes the target swapping did catch me off guard. We are so used to the old system that you instinctively know who you're locking on to next. And the new system sometimes logged on to someone my subconscious didn't think of. It's nothing major that throws you off completely, but you might notice this. All in all, I'm a little confused why we need these 2 systems, but it might turn out that the extra option of having both systems in place and working in tandem might be an even better option instead of simply replacing the old one. Let me know how this works out for you. I might as well make a new poll since YouTube apparently is all over that feature now. But moving on, another quite annoying feature was removed, or rather, let's look at the exact wording of the patch notes. Greatly reduced the odds of guard breaking minions. So straight away, we have still a chance to guard break minions when we are locked onto players. This is an important distinction. Don't complain when you GB a minion while out of lock. So accidentally grabbing a minion while locked onto a player won't happen all that often. As you can see here, the minion gets shoved to the side. We've waited a long time for this change, and so far I haven't had it happen to me, albeit I wasn't fighting in the middle all that much. But so far so good. Maybe we'll see further improvements to that system in the future. It definitely improved in this patch. Then some feat nerfs, sadly not to Griffin but Warmonger once again. The tier 1 corruption blade has had both its cooldown as well as its active time nerf. Cooldown went up from 75 seconds to 90, and the time the coating is on your weapon has been reduced to 8 seconds, down from 15. So it'll be harder to apply off screen, jump into the fight and casually apply it. It'll require a little more coordination. The strength of the feat has been untouched, meaning damage and radius of the AoE effect remain the same. But talking about Griffin, he received a few bug fixes. Usually I glance over some of these changes when making these patch rundown videos, but this time we had quite a few really nice ones, especially quality of life bug fixes that will make playing some of these heroes a lot smoother. I'm still not gonna name them all, but like I said, a few are definitely worth mentioning this time. So the Griffin changes are, the double lights have a bigger input window now. It's 300 ms, now up from 200 ms. This should make it easier when you whiff your first light, as you don't want to blindly buffer the second one and give your opponent a free light parry. So keep that in mind if you fight a dodge happy player. Next is the auto riposte when zone option selecting. The patch notes worded a little different. They talk about buffering an input during a parry, which the zone option select obviously does, so you'll notice you're no longer forced to just throw that one out. This has not been fixed on Lawbringer nor Zerker, nor any of the bash select heroes that have a GB riposte. The other problem was with teammate parries. I've highlighted that issue in my frame check video when Griffin released. That problem has now been fixed for him, Lawbringer and Aramusha. Teamfighting with these heroes will feel better now. Then Black Prior's Bulwark counter no longer drains extra stamina. The CCU removed the stamina penalty on parries and blocks. Now BP finally caught up. It always felt extremely frustrating when you get flipped and ended up out of stamina at the same time. Really good change here. And two changes that were already in the game but undocumented, now they're mentioned in the patch notes. Jungjun's stamina drain on choke works properly now. The slap no longer drains and puts you on the ground. You have to be out of stamina before the slap to be unbalanced. The other is Kensei's hit reaction on zone. This was to not make it unsafe against 500 ms bashes. You're put into medium hit reaction now instead of light. Then we move on to some new features for customization. It seems to be a little misleading as I've imagined something completely different when reading the patch notes. You can now favorite gear, executions and all that. For execution, signatures and customization, it's pretty straightforward. You just put a heart on it and it'll be on the top, thus easier for you to find when swapping things around. But for gear, we assume that you could favorite existing gear pieces in your inventory. I don't know how many of you have multiple sets that you switch around because of the lack of extra loadout slots, or rather limitation to just 3. But favoriting for gear is within the transmog settings, where you can change the look of your gear. So you will still run into the problem of accidentally trashing gear that you upgraded, but it will be easier for you to swap the look of gear. Basically, they made it easier to use steel, which we can't really fault them for, but sadly the favoriting system for gear isn't what we had hoped for. Alright, that's it for these changes. Like I said, there are many more to come in the undocumented changes, but now I want to talk about maps real quick. There hasn't been a major rework like we had with Beachhead at the beginning of the season, but we've had multiple smaller adjustments on different maps. While these won't have a huge impact, they definitely are worth pointing out. I've repeatedly complained about small entrance points to capture zones. It is incredibly annoying being body blocked by a single person. This issue has been addressed in the following locations. Sentinel has had these side entrance points to the C point widened quite a bit. The same happened to Riverford A point. It's been made quite a bit wider on both sides. Then some ledges weren't removed but tightened up on Harbour A point. It's the ledge that throws you outside the building down to the ocean. Then Forge, I made a video speculating whether some of the event mode changes teased a bit of a map rework. I only expected the bridge on the A point to make it in as it was a completely new asset, but turns out that they even made changes to the C point, removing some of the smithing stations or anvils or whatever that was. The room isn't completely empty, but wall and obstacle collisions should be severely reduced. What also surprised me is that they blocked off the path behind the furnaces. I thought they would just limit the capture zone to the front, but they completely walled it off. So no more running around behind it, so fighting should be more concentrated at one spot and not split up into multiple smaller ones because people would run away and hide behind these ovens. But yeah, overall smaller changes to the maps. Good changes in my opinion, but without too big of an impact on how the map itself is played. I'll need a few more games on each of those to be able to truly tell whether it made a difference. Oh, and then before I forget, Griffin got new armor. Usually there's a Warriors 10 showcase in all of those. This time we get to explore ourselves. Quite a few new ones actually, so just go into the change gear menu. Have a look for yourself. Oh, I'm sure some YouTuber used those as clickbait already. Well, that's it. Nobushi and PK changes will follow soon, but the video is long enough now. I don't want you to get bored. Let me know if you think I left out something relevant. Patch notes are linked in the video description if you want to check for yourself. I hope the video was interesting. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.